I would be scream, crying, throwing up, shitting. I would be in like a
they find
state
you,
of hysterical.
you're like covered in throw up and there's poop everywhere. Like a dog that gets scared and just starts pooping.
Yeah, no, that would
That's
100%
so
like
funny.
explosive diarrhea.
Hello,
and welcome back to the dysfunctional duo. That is us.
That is us. The duo is us.
And we are the dysfunction.
How you doing, Spence?
I'm living.
Yeah.
I'm continuing to live.
You're very tired
Very
today.
exhausted.
Yes. Do you want to explain to the people why?
No particular reason. I did a 30-page research paper for my university, and I just want to like put my head through a wall.
I can't believe it was 30 pages.
It was a lot. It was a lot of research, which like for literature, because I'm an English major, I can typically
Which means she doesn't have a major.
No. Basically, I have no future.
Which means she's going to school for nothing.
I'm going to school to prepare to be a trophy wife. And I stand by that.
What are you, Anastasia or Anastasia Steele?
Absolutely.
Wasn't she an English major?
I actually couldn't tell you.
I think she was.
I'll be that, what's that Anne girl that had a Netflix series where she pretended to be like an elite socialite and just stole money from a bunch of people. But from
Wasn't
the rich,
Lorelai from Gilmore Girls an English major?
Probably.
I think she was.
I haven't watched that show in years.
Why are all these girls in movies and like media like they're really I don't know if Anastasia Steele is that, but like these girls who kind of got it all at the end, like why were they English majors? What is so appealing to the masses to have like a girl? No men are English majors. It's always the women.
I don't know, because like reading. I don't know if men read.
Who are like some OG female authors that like you read and you were like English major? Like I would love to pursue that.
Female authors?
Yeah.
Probably Margaret Atwood.
Okay.
Or Alice Munro, which are two very like popular Canadian authors.
Yeah.
Other than that, no. I'm gonna out myself. I like reading. I don't love reading what my professors give me. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go on a rant right now, right here.
Adjust your mic first. You have to bring it down. There you go.
Am I good?
Yep.
Hello? You can hear me?
We could, but it was your nose. It was picking up your nose.
My breathing.
So if you're going to go on a rant, we have to be adjusted here.
Okay. So I take 5 courses a semester as an English major, which means that like my classes are English classes. When I tell you my professors expect me to read 5 books a class that are typically 300 to 500 pages long, but that's over the course of like 5 different classes. So it's 20 books I'm expected to read in 3 months, not including like the like articles that they'll like publish too on our like online like university system.
But like what kind of books?
Oh, they're like historical books. So like they're usually books that were like important during a certain time because they're like talking about certain things and like
would Pride and Prejudice be in that? Like
Pride and Prejudice is a huge one. Jane Austen in general is pretty big for like the womenary or the women visionary classes, but there's like The Invisible Man, Catch-22,
To Kill a Mockingbird.
That's high school. That's like no.
That's where I ended. I actually think that was the last book that I read for school. No, that's not. Well, that's kind of true. In university, you have to take like certain electives, and so I had to take a fucking English elective. So I took creative writing, which I hated that class.
What?
It was horrible. And I think she made us read Frankenstein, and I read the Cliff Notes and then wrote an essay. I didn't do very well.
That part.
I think I got like a C or like a B- on that one.
To a creative writing class being like your least favorite is like kind of wild to me because those are the only classes that like keep me from jumping off the university building.
How can I be creative if you're testing me on my ability to write and get story across? Like creativity is not confined by the walls of literature. That is why I hated creative writing, because it was a catch-22. It was like be creative and write, but also explain how Frankenstein is the person that he is, and your grammar has to be perfect, and you have to use very smart literal words, and you can't repeat ands and buts, and it's like I'm writing creatively.
Oh, I don't have any classes like that. You went to Mount Royal, right?
Yeah.
What do you remember the name of that class? Let's talk shit about it.
Creative writing. Writing for creative.
Writing for creative writing.
I think it was creative writing or intro to creative writing.
I think you might have had like a specific prof, because there's some profs that are like,
for sure, but like all writing classes, you kind of have to know how to fucking write, and I feel like I missed that class in high school.
To be fair though, I was not a very good writer in high school either, because high school is bullshit though.
It's like the structure. If you're going to be in creative writing, don't tell me I have to maintain a structure and I have to have a continuative plot and like all this shit. I hated that stuff. Whereas like when I went to school and I wrote essays, it was papers around like, I feel this way. And it kind of like, it honestly kind of broke all the literary rules. And so I did really well because I love talking.
I love talking.
And so I could just explain and talk about like what I felt about a certain thing without feeling like I was going to be graded on my fucking punctuation. I know these are normal things, but I cannot be the only one who like felt that it was a little counterintuitive. Like I felt like, well, what the fuck is the point if my creative writing is going to get like a C? Like it was, so I think Frankenstein was the last thing that I read for like literary class purposes, but To Kill a Mockingbird was probably one of the only ones that I actually like read and enjoyed.
I don't even remember the last time I read. When I tell you that they expect me to read these books and I will do this, I will go on like Spark Notes. Like that's how I've gotten through university.
For sure.
Like when I graduate, I will like in my speech, which is unprompted because like you can't give a speech. Who the fuck are you? I'm not valedictorian. In my speech, I will get on stage and I will thank Spark Notes for this degree, because
I'm sure
without
some people
it,
did.
I would have I couldn't have done it.
I never ended up walking the stage when I graduated from university.
I'm on the fence about it. So technically my degree should be done. I should be graduating this year, but because I started this degree in 2020, and all my classes were online, I ended up going from like a bunch of classes to like 2 because I just couldn't mentally handle it at that time. And like online is just it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I have another year of just electives. Like they're just kind of catch up courses, which is fine. I've already picked them and they're all things that like I know I can do really well at.
What did you pick for your like math and science option?
So I did those a long time ago, but like for those ones, I don't even remember. I think I like honestly, I took a computer science class, which was like how to use Excel. And when I tell you I barely passed that class, like I don't know what I'm doing.
Mine was one of my favorite classes that I took in university, and it was the intro to environmental sciences. So you learned about like the environment and the things that are involved in that. We grew plants.
Oh wait, that's cute.
And
it's like grade 4.
I had like a project. We all had we had to pick a topic for our project. In my project, I picked like industrialized farming and like us eating meat and the agriculture behind it and all that stuff. And it actually made me become like a vegetarian. Like that project did it.
Really?
Because I did the research on it and stuff. So
that's cool.
I'm not anymore, but I was for a period of time, and it was because of the project that I did. So yeah, like I loved that class, and it was so fucking easy. It was literally just like do the work, show up. We watched a ton of documentaries. Like we would just show up and watch movies basically.
Oh, I probably wouldn't even show up then.
Oh, I loved it. The documentaries were super interesting. So, and I love watching documentaries and stuff. See, that stuff I can get on board with.
Right.
I was a big like historian like person. I loved social studies when I was growing up. I loved the concept of like we are where we are because these individuals put us in these positions, and like how did the world unfold, and like concept on society. Like I did intro to sociology. I loved that class too.
I was gonna say you'd be really good in sociology.
Yeah, I really loved that class. I did really well in that class. So, I mean, I definitely like am not a literary person at all. And literature, I don't read. I read when I was a kid, so it's crazy. Like, and I read a lot when I was a kid. So it's crazy to me that I like can't pick up a book now. No, it's not crazy. I mean, like, look at what my form of entertainment is. It's usually like social media and TikTok, like 5-second videos. So for sure, a book is going to be difficult. But I like the smart people books I struggle to read. It has to be like very interesting plots. And there's, there's like a wave of women that are like a community now that really just kind of advocate very kind of like female-led books with like strong male leads. That's the most G-rated version I can put that in. But I haven't like gotten into it. I would just I've always been a fan of like movies and like TV. I love seeing stories play out in front of me rather than my imagination having to create it. But when I was a kid, that's what I was grounded a lot though.
And you're like, I had nothing better to
No,
do.
my parents would only let me read books.
Really?
Yeah.
I was sort of forced to read, and it wasn't something that I ever really wanted to do as a kid. So I had an animosity against reading for a really long time. It actually, this is going to sound so stupid, but it wasn't until probably the Hunger Games series, which for whatever reason I fell in love with when I started reading it in like junior high. I was in grade like 8, I think. And it brought me back into books, but I'm also very picky with books. And I think a lot of that does come with for the fact that like I hate reading these like the ones that you were talking about, like the academic books for like smart people.
Yeah.
I hate them. I'll be honest. I have no interest. They're so boring. There's no drama, and it's supposed to like teach you a lesson, but I'm like, I don't want a lesson.
It's like self-reflective. I think those books are meant to be self-reflective.
100%. And I don't like I feel like I'm usually someone that's like constantly self-reflective because I'm like not very self-aware, but I can be self-aware. So when I want to read, it's typically like an escapism.
An escape, yeah.
I don't want to like read about like the horrors of our history. I'm well aware of what happened.
Or even like
I want to read two
there's like
elves
the
fucking.
mental health books and stuff, right? Like I couldn't really get into them, but a lot of people swear by those kind of books of
I've never read those, to be honest. The mental health books are the ones that are like get up every day and meditate.
well, like 5 most effective things that you can do in life, like all these different things. I think that's like a productivity area that I haven't gotten into. Leo got into them. Like we have quite a few of those books in the house. And I literally just have never picked them up. But I don't read anymore. It's not very common that I buy a book. It also really stresses me out to like own a lot of books.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people get Kindles.
I would never read it again.
I'm the same as you. Once I read a book, I'm like, okay, I get it. And I just don't.
I mean, that's not necessarily true. I read books over and over when I was younger. I was a big fan of like Stephen King and Christopher Pike and these like horror authors that wrote certain, stories. So I know, and honestly, I came across Christopher Pike before I came across Stephen King. Christopher Pike isn't as well known as Stephen King, but he's more of like, he's kind of more of like the teenage writer for like horror movies. And he's not like Stephen King, where Stephen King, the biggest villain in his stories are always the people rather than the thing that is like entrenching these people. It's usually the people that are the most evil and vicious. That's kind of like his continuous theme in all his stories. Christopher Pike was more around like the fantastical and like vampires, werewolves, like all these ones. But there was one story, yeah, like that, but like make it horror.
Yeah.
There was this one book that I read, and I can't for the life of me remember the author, but I bought the book. So here's the thing. I read enough books that when my mom would go to Costco, I would go with her because I could buy a new book in the book section. So I bought this book one time, and I can't even tell you what the title is. Like, it's been that long, but I can vividly like picture the cover, and it was like a desk, like a school desk.
Okay.
And there was like the title written on the school desk, but like engraved in. And the concept of the story was a girl went back to her town or went to a new town or something, small town. And I just realized my cat went into the bathroom and he's going to be getting up to no good. Whatever.
He's taking a shower.
He actually is obsessed with the shower. And I don't know if it's because he's afraid for me or if he wants to go in.
Both.
Although one time I went to the bathroom and Milo was straight up just sitting in the shower.
Have you seen cats that like pee on toilets?
Well, they're trained. And I've seen videos of them, yeah. You can train your cat to pee in a toilet.
You should train them to pee in toilets.
No, it's just it's a mess. And it takes a really long time. And if you're going to train your cat, like, it's often suggested that you start early. But we have the space for a litter box, so I'll just let them use their litter box.
I'll let you get back to your book, but how do you train a cat? I'm not around
Same
cats.
way you train a dog.
I just feel like dogs
How do you train a dog?
with treats.
Yeah.
But I feel like dogs are like receptive to what you're saying. Sometimes cats will look at you being like, "Shut up." And that's why I'm like, how do you train a cat? Like, do cats listen to people?
Yeah.
Like, not that they're like untrainable.
Phineas, come here.
Oh my gosh. But that's a dog. That's not a cat.
This is true. He's kind of a dog. Yeah, you bring him, you give him treats. We've taught him to sit. We've taught him to play fetch. You can train. The issue with Finn is once you train him, you can't untrain him. So we were like training him how to drink water from the faucet. And then we got like our own drinking faucet that's like connected to a filter, and now he drinks from that. And we're like, don't drink our fucking water because like you lick your asshole, and like we need to clean the faucet every time you do that. So like he can't unlearn that behavior now. So Milo, I think the issue with cats is cats get to choose if they're going to be trained or not. Dogs are just trainable.
Yeah.
Cats can tell you to fuck off, and they'll be like, yeah, I could do this, but I don't fucking want to.
That's what
like,
I assume
Milo
most cats are.
isn't trainable, but because he decides that he doesn't want to be trained. So I think that depends. Like, a relationship with a cat is a mutual relationship, whereas I feel like a relationship with a dog is more like, you're my person and I'm going to do whatever you say because I love you so, so, so much.
Which I love. That's my kind of relationship.
Dogs come in really hot and heavy for
Very
my
hot and
energy.
heavy.
Like,
Very.
I definitely have cat behavior energy of like, I mean, granted, maybe not because I own a cat dog and maybe that's my fault. So maybe I do want a dog. I don't know. But
He's screaming. He knows we're talking about him.
yeah, he wants attention. This is the thing with Phineas is I have to get another cat to know if I'm the reason that he is the cat that he is, or if he's just an anomaly. Because
He's an anomaly.
I think so too. I don't know if I'll ever get a cat like Phineas again.
No, I don't think anyone can get a cat like Phineas. Phineas is very like particular.
He's very unique.
He's very unique. And I say that because I don't own cats, but I've been around like a lot of cats. Like I'm usually everyone's like go-to cat sitter.
But I wonder how much of that is just the environment that he grew up in. You know what I mean? Because he was so young when we got him. Like, he wasn't a cuddly cat, but then I was like, you're going to fucking cuddle with me. And now he's a cuddly cat.
Very
he
cuddly.
wasn't a cat that played fetch and was super chatty, but because we talked to him and he talks back, like we'll talk to him and we'll wait for him to respond to us. Now he's a chatty. He was always kind of a chatty cat. Like, even when I was talking about buying him, the person that was going to bring him home, they're like, the one meowing is your cat. But I feel like he's more chatty because we interact with him. Milo talks to us too. So I think it's partly like nurture over nature.
100%.
But I'm curious to see how much, because Milo's a very different cat than Phineas. Although they're both very affectionate, very sweet. Milo's more to himself. However, how much of that is the way he was raised, because he was a rescue.
Okay, so again, I don't own cats, but I've been around a lot of them. And the cats that I've been around, to me, they're like, they each have like kind of their own little personalities, but most cats that I'm around are cats. Like, Phineas is so different in the sense that he's almost kind of like a cartoon cat, because he's like, he has such a big personality. He's such a big presence, and it, like, even down to his look, like, he very much looks like he has like big glass blue eyes and like pretty fur and just like the cutest little face.
Yeah.
And like he's very energetic. He's kind of like all over the place.
We
He
always
loves
say
people.
that when you watch like a Disney movie or like a Pixar movie and there's that like secondary character that's very cute, like we have that in real life.
No, 100%. Like if Disney princesses were like real in the sense that like they had like like animals that could talk. Like if Phineas like came up to me and started speaking English, I don't think I would be surprised.
Yeah.
Like I'd be a little terrified, but I don't think I'd be like surprised at all, because he gives that energy. He's always been so loving. Whereas like there are a lot of like nice cats out there, but like not to the extent of him.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like when he eventually like moves on and we get another cat.
When he gets a job and moves out.
Yeah, when he moves out and gets a fucking job, stops living off of our goddamn our goddamn income. It's actually funny. Like sometimes I'll like turn to him and he'll be like sleepy or whatever. I'm like, what are you sleepy about? Like you've napped all day. Like what? Or like we'll get a raise or something and then we'll be like, Phineas is happy because now he gets more wet cat food. Like he's like, yeah bitch, like pay for my fucking toys. And it's actually crazy. Like, I'm sure it's the same with dogs, but like with cats, like you invest in the cat trees, you invest in these toys that they never fucking use.
No.
Like now that I've had cats for a few years, we have to, but there's so many great like cat accessories and cute beds and like the best things out there that are just like, oh my God, I need to have this in my house. But it's such a slap to the face when you realize your cat like has no interest in utilizing it. Like our cats prefer a cardboard box over most of the beds we bought for them. And I understand, but also you have very good stuff in this house. And like the one thing you aspire to have is a box.
A box.
Like, and I'm not going to have a box in my house because it's like ugly. Like I can have a pretty looking box in the house. So it's like a catch-22 with cats. But yeah, anyways, he's a very interesting character. What was I talking about before?
The book that you don't remember like the name
So
of.
I don't remember what the name of the book is, but the story was really interesting so much that I had reread it 3 times. And the story that I remember was that a girl had gone to a small town, either moved back and had no memory of the town, or like was really young when she moved away and her mom like took her when she was young or something like that, or she moved to this town for the very first time. And she was in this old school because it's a small town, so none of the buildings have been redesigned. They're all the original buildings that were there back in like I would assume that this story was like set in like the 90s or something. So, you know, these buildings existed in the 60s, 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, the concept of the story is that she sits at a desk that's like one in the corner that no one ever touches, and on the desk she gets like these scribbles of somebody talking to her.
Right.
Like a ghost or whatever. And so she starts asking and getting to know this person, and this other person she thinks is like a person that's like alive. So she goes on a hunt for this person who's like missing. And she ends up like going to this old school where this person had like been murdered and like their body had been hidden. So she ends up finding them and she ends up realizing that this person's not actually alive, that they've like died like 20 years ago. And so she's unfolding this mystery.
I think I've read this book.
I can't remember.
Was it called like Creeped or like Creeped Out?
No.
Oh God. I know what you're talking about. Cause I remember when she finds the body. Oh my God, I think I read this book.
I think I told you to read it.
Maybe.
I think I gave it to you. And I was like, you need to read this book.
Because I can picture it in my mind what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a really good book. Fuck. It's like bothering me that I can't remember it.
And I have no idea who the author was.
No, but it was like a brown book. Like most of it was brown, and then there was the desk in the middle, and on the desk it was like, and you could even feel the texture on the cover.
And it said the title on the desk, like etched in, kind of.
Yeah.
I do remember this book. I couldn't tell you though what it's called now.
But I feel like there's another book that's like very similar. Man, there's like a lot of books kind of around this. Like it's not Gone Girl, but it's something like that where a girl
Good Girl? Gone Girl? Good Girl?
Amanda Seyfried was in the movie. And I actually read
Mean
this
Girls.
book. Seyfried? What is her last name? I always say Seinfeld, but that's not it.
Amanda I want to say you're right. Amanda
Seyfried? Seyfried. I always feel like I'm saying Seinfeld because I'm thinking of Seinfeld.
I say Seinfeld too sometimes when I try to say
She was in a movie called Gone
I'm
back in like 2012.
No.
Okay, so the story of this, I'm going to read the like little breakdown that it says here. This is a book that she was in a movie about. And I feel like this book is very similar to the book that I read that I was telling you about. So this story is about a girl named Jill Parrish who's trying to rebuild her life after surviving a terrifying kidnapping. Though she's having a difficult time, she takes small steps towards normalcy by living her life. Returning home, she discovers that her sister has vanished. She's certain that the same man who previously abducted her sister.
Oh, shit.
And so she goes on a hunt, and people think she's crazy. I need to watch this fucking movie. I don't know if I ever watched this movie, but like Amanda Seyfried is here. Sebastian Stan. I think Sebastian Stan's the bad guy.
I mean, he's hot.
I know, it makes it so much worse. Why are the kidnappers like usually attractive? It's just like creates this weird dynamic for young girls.
Though. Yeah.
Jennifer Carpenter is in there. Like and everyone thinks that she's like crazy. Everyone thinks that she's making it up because she has like this PTSD. Maybe I'll watch that today and like let you know what I think. I'll give you a movie review. Anyways, this was a book that I found at Costco and I read. And then when I found out the movie was coming out, I don't think I ever watched it. And I think it was because like I was like, I don't want to watch a movie about kidnapping. Like, no, thank you, ma'am. But you know what I was thinking about recently?
What?
So I was thinking about like movies that I remember that I don't remember the plot of like very significantly, but I do remember them having like a major impact on me. And I mean, I don't have to explain it to you, but I'll explain it to everybody who's watching. I did not like scary movies growing up. Mm-hmm. You actually like beat it into me.
Yeah.
To like
indoctrinated into you.
Yeah, you like forced me to watch. Like, you know that scene in what is that movie called?
I don't know which one. The Grudge.
No, it's not a scary movie. It's like, anyways, it doesn't matter. It was like it's like kind of like an unsettling movie, and they put these things in his eyes to make him like watch stuff on the TV screen. I feel like that's what you did to me. You would like break me by making me watch like the Poltergeist and like movies that like now if you look at them, they didn't age like gracefully, so they definitely look kind of comical now.
Yeah.
But at the time, and I had a big issue with The Grudge. Like, I did not like The Grudge. I was very afraid of the concept of this woman who like was a ghost. I hated the fact I don't like things that like crack and like
yeah, when they're like
break
sort of disorientating.
The physics of the natural spine.
Yeah. I
really don't like that. And so The Grudge kind of fell into that category because she was just a little too flexible.
Sorry. That scared me.
It's The Grudge. Yeah. And it was that noise. And she made that noise because she couldn't speak, right?
I think so.
Or she just smoked too many cigarettes.
It was actually anti-nicotine commercial. I really thought it was a movie.
And then she had that son that meowed. Like
that. My sister was the most scared of the little boy.
Oh, that part I always found to be really funny. That this kid was like, meow. Like, have you seen that meme of the little boy? Leo showed it to me and I like can't I immediately think of this meme when I think of that kid in that movie. There's a little boy and he's like licking ice cream or something off his finger. He's sitting on the stairs and somebody's filming him and he's licking and he goes, meow, and like continues licking his finger. Like he's just sitting there as a kid. He's just being a fucking kid. So like this boy in The Grudge, I can't see it as being scary because he's just being like a spastic kid. Right. Like a dead spastic kid. So anyways, like The Grudge really freaked me out. The Ring, I didn't like
The Ring was creepy.
like any girls who like cover their face. Apparently I had an issue with girls with very long hair that cover their face. So you kind of like put me through this boot camp of scary movies. But before I went through that process, I had another friend who I went over to her house and we were watching a movie, and I wouldn't say it was a scary movie, but it was kind of more like a thriller, but it was the real life of it that really kind of terrified me. And it was called, I'm going to rewatch it because I actually don't think it's a good quality movie. Like, I actually think if I watched it today, I'd be like, that's the dumbest shit ever.
I'm so curious.
But it's I Know Who Killed Me, and it's with Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, shit.
It came out in like early 2000s, and it's about this girl who is like a very well-off girl. Like, she's in like Ivy League school, all this kind of stuff. She gets kidnapped and like somebody takes her, and obviously like a serial killer or something, like somebody's like trying to murder her. They kind of like, they do not nice things to her. She ends up like losing her leg. She ends up losing her arm. Somebody finds her on the side of the road. They thought that she was dead. She wasn't dead. She tries to live the rest of her life. Yada, yada, yada. Then it turns on its head that this girl is a twin of another girl, and they were separated at birth. And it follows the concept that anything that happens to one twin, the other twin feels.
Oh.
So they go based off of the story of this other girl during this time of this other girl being kidnapped. And they that was funny. Leo's trying to avoid like all our camera equipment. It follows the perspective of this other girl who was separated from her twin at birth, not well off in life. I think she was like a stripper in the movie. And as she's at work, she's losing parts of her body because her twin is losing parts of her body from this murderer. And so it follows this concept of this girl like losing like she loses her finger or something like during like a mid-strip.
Like it just falls off.
She's wearing like a glove. And I haven't watched this movie in years, dude. So this is the stuff that I remember from this movie that like really fucked me up. And she's like wearing a glove. So maybe it's not a strip club. Maybe it's like a boudoir or something.
Yeah. She's
like sliding down this pole. And as she's sliding down this pole, like a little bit of blood kind of follows. And then she takes off her glove and her finger's like, "Ayo, I'll see you later." So like this stuff is happening to her as her twin sister is being like abducted and taken by this guy. And so this movie, like the end, the sister who ends up surviving realizes that stuff is still happening to her, and the guy abducted the other twin sister. I have to rewatch the movie to understand the plot, really.
Yeah.
And she ends up finding her sister before her sister dies because they're speaking telepathically. And she thinks she's going crazy because she doesn't know she has a twin sister. And all of a sudden her mom's like, "Oh yeah, you had a twin sister. Like, congrats." And so she realizes that her twin sister's her twin sister's been abducted, and so she has to go find her twin sister. And her twin sister and like the guy ends up like trying to bury her because he doesn't want what happened to the other girl to happen to her. And so she has to try and go find her sister before she runs out of oxygen, because this other girl's running out of oxygen and she'll die. So it's kind of like the long-fetched version of whatever your twin feels, you're gonna feel.
Right.
But this movie like scared the shit out of me. Also, like not to spoil it, but like it was her fucking piano teacher. Like this guy that like taught her piano. Like it's a weird. There was also a scene in the movie where the girl, she had obviously like lost her leg. She wore like a prosthetic, but it was like an electric prosthetic, so it was like battery operated. So she's in this bad guy's home, and in the house it's like very scary looking. Mm-hmm. You know, what you'd think a serial killer's house would look like in his basement is what it kind of looked like. And she's in the basement looking for her sister, and her prosthetic leg starts like beeping because the battery's dying. And so she has to like turn it off before the guy finds her. Like it was very thriller involved. It was very intense. It was very kind of like scary. And
not a movie I was expecting Lindsay Lohan to star in.
I know, right? I didn't sleep a fucking wink that night. I was having sleepover with my friend.
Why? Let's talk about why.
Because
why
I was terrified that a piano teacher was going to break into my friend's house and take me.
and take you, and then you're gonna find out you're like you have a twin sister, and like
That's
watch her get like her
terrifying.
legs cut off.
No, I just like anything like to do with kidnap and stuff. I was always kind of like, nah, I don't really like it. But I didn't know what this movie was about, and I don't know how old I was, but I must have been like 10, 11, 12 maybe. And I remember we were sleeping in the loft. We weren't sleeping in a room. We were sleeping in like kind of like when you go up the stairs, there's like a loft. There was a bed couch in the loft. I was so terrified that I asked to keep the TV on, and I slept on the floor between the wall and between the bed because I was afraid of being exposed to like a bad guy. I did not like scary movies, and they fucked with me as a kid. And that movie lives rent. I was just driving. I don't even know why I thought of this movie like this week, but it came back into my head, and I was immediately brought back to how much this movie impacted me. And I'm going to rewatch it because I need to face
face your demons.
I need to face my monster in the closet, but I can guarantee you I'm going to watch it. I'm going to be like, this is fucking stupid.
Probably.
I'm going to hate it because now I watch scary movies and I'm not really, it's been a while since I've watched a scary movie when I've been like, holy shit, that one scared me. The last one, actually, it was recent, but it's far and few in between where I'm really like, holy shit, that was a really good movie. It really scared me. It was very unexpected. The last one that did that for me was Smile.
Smile was creepy. That brought me up to a memory of when we watched a movie. I, again, couldn't tell you what it was called. It starred the blonde girl from Pretty Little Liars. Hannah from Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah.
And that one was about a stalking as well.
Well, it was like a guy was obsessed with a girl and he looked at her through her cameras in her home.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what it was called, but that was another one that like was not great quality.
No.
But it left a mark.
That one actually, like, I've been watching scary movies since I was very young. I think the first time I watched a scary movie I was maybe 7, and I locked myself in my parents' room, turned off all the lights, and watched The Grudge by myself.
But I feel like there's different categories of scary movies. Like there's the more mainstream ones like The Conjuring, The Grudge, The Ring,
the supernatural,
Insidious,
almost.
all of these ones, or not even that, but like, yeah, I guess. And then there's even the mainstream popular slasher ones like Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all these other ones. Like I've watched those, but I've never been kind of blown away by those ones. I would say The Conjuring would be separated from that, maybe Insidious, although Insidious kind of fed off of itself in a way that they just repeated the same shit over and over. But there were some scenes in the movies that really like left me like with a mark, and I will think about them sometimes when I'm doing something and I'm like, oh yeah, I like think about that scene. But there's also the side of scary movies that they're like the indie ones. And I feel like the movie you're talking about would be considered like an indie movie where like not a lot of people, like the VHS series. I don't know if you know of those ones. No. I really kind of delve into different categories and stuff because I was very fascinated by the genre of it. I don't watch a ton of, like, I didn't watch all of these scary movies. I think I watched the first VHS. But I'm fascinated by this, and I watch people who on YouTube who watch those and they talk about them and they break down the theory of it and stuff. But there's like movies that are considered very, not critically acclaimed. I wouldn't say that, but they're like, if people are a horror movie watcher and they know the genre through and through, they can reference these indie ones. I would say VHS would be that. I don't know if this movie, but that movie falls into that category of the realism of it, right?
I think that's I think it was the realism. It's that sort of subgenre of the horror that's like,
it's just a little too close to life itself.
Yeah.
It's not subtle. As Hollywood.
There's no like jump scares. Like you're not watching it expecting like Annabelle the doll to like come in with like a shotgun and like kill everybody.
But it's like watching a scene and knowing that there's a person standing in the corner that the actor doesn't see. Like that kind of stuff.
Very much that. It's very much that.
Yeah.
Can I spoil like one scene from that movie? I'm so sorry. I don't even know the name of this movie.
I can't remember what it's called. If I looked it up, I could find the name. I'll look it up while you'll
remember this part too, because this was the one that like sticks in my brain like gum. It was a scene at night, and it was through the point of view of I think it was like an Xbox, and you could see into her living room. There was like the front door. She lived in an apartment, so you could see the apartment front door. There was like a little hallway with a wall that kind of like blocked that off, and then on the other side of that wall was her kitchen, and then she had her bedroom, which her door was closed. And there was one scene where the light in the hallway is on because it's an apartment. You could see him pacing back and forth in the hall. You can see him trying to try the door from the shadow underneath the door. And then eventually he does open the door, but she has a latch on. And he tries to undo the latch, and then she gets up to like grab a drink of water. And the whole time he's like right there. She can't see him. She has no idea it's happening. But like this man is actively trying to break into her house. And she's so oblivious. And there was something about that was so chilling and so unnerving to me.
When do you remember how the movie ended?
Yes. Yeah.
That like left a mark on. And the movie's called Ratter, if you want to see it.
I was not expecting that.
I know, right? What the fuck? It's not a scary movie. It's like it's a thriller. It's like a paranoid thriller. It got a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, which...
What is Rotten? Is it like valid? Who makes Rotten Tomatoes?
I don't know, but it's the place if you want to like see if a movie's quality. I think it's critically acclaimed critics who report, but it's also people personally. Because if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, you can look at like what the audience thought and then what the critics thought. My stomach is growling. I don't know if you guys just heard that, but
hungry?
I heard I'm hungry.
I'm hungry.
So anyways, this movie, I think it dips into the realism of things. And the statement is like, which like, honestly, I fucking believe, dude, is that like people can see you through your cameras and like you need to be careful about like who, like, you know,
what you're doing.
And it's more kind of like extended version of that. But there's these movies that feel very kind of real. I would say like, you know, it became very popular, but like Paranormal Activity, I would say, would dip its toes into that because you feel like you're a part of it. You feel it's not like this crazy jump scare. It's more like
it's the subtlety of it.
It's the quietness. It's the moments where you're like, fuck, like I could be living my life like that. So stuff like that, I would say, is obviously more scary because it's like, holy shit, like that actually could happen.
I liked the first Paranormal Activity movie when it came out. It actually genuinely terrified me.
If I had to pick my favorite, I think it would be... Is it the second one that they go back?
The second one's with her sister. And then she has like the son and the daughter.
Oh, no, the third then.
Where they're children.
Yeah.
Okay.
That where the cupboards all open at once and stuff.
Yeah.
And the moving camera gave me so much anxiety. Oh. I was so anxious because you're waiting for something to pop. But they knew how to work it, right? So I feel like those kind of movies like would leave a mark, but it's very uncommon where a movie I walk away with and I'm like, holy shit. Heck, sorry.
God bless. A demon just exited your body. Oh my god.
So sorry.
That was so aggressive. Are you okay? Oh my god. It started off like fine, and then it was just like an explosion.
I'm so sorry. Oh my god, that came out of nowhere. That wasn't even like, oh my god, I'm gonna sneeze. It was literally like, you're sneezing now.
It's happening.
It's happening. Holy shit. I have like 2 sneezes. There's a guy that I work with. His sneeze is so loud. And he sneezes all the time. Like,
is he one of those people that like when they sneeze, they almost like scream for some reason?
Yep.
Like I don't get that.
Yes.
Is that a medical condition?
I don't know.
What's happening?
And honestly, he sneezes so often that people at work are like, oh yeah, it's just this guy. Oh yeah.
You can hear him down the hall.
Everyone upstairs can hear him. I mean, granted, we work upstairs in like pods, like cubicles, so it's not like we're not like segregated into different spaces. There's no walls, so definitely sound's gonna carry. But I work, call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8 pods away from him, and I can hear him.
You're like, good morning, Joe.
And he's like a little guy. Like he's not a big guy. Like you wouldn't expect a sneeze to come out of a person like that. He's awesome. I think he's the greatest guy. But yeah, it's people who work there for a while, they like think nothing of his sneeze. They just keep fucking working. Whereas like when I first started working.
How often is he sneezing?
Call it.
He's got
It's not every day, but like on average, if it was like he would sneeze more than once a day. if he's sneezing. Like every other day.
What?
Every 3 days. Like he sneezes, I would say I've been working there for 2 months now, and he's at least sneezed 20 times since I've started working. Like enough for me to be like, oh yeah. Like I'm used to it now. It doesn't even
dust.
I honestly don't know what it's like to sit next to him and get that, because I feel like that would scare
It
me.
would scare me all the time.
But I have two kinds of sneezes. It's either that one where it's like it's happening, like the air of your body,
out, yeah.
Or I sneeze and then I'm like, chew. Like it's one of those. But like sometimes that happens, and that just kind of happened out of nowhere. But I'm not a big sneezer. It doesn't really happen.
I'm not a big sneezer either. I have 2 sneezes too. One is the most common one is like the dry sneeze, where it's just like, shoo.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Like that was it. And then I have ones where for whatever reason they're so wet.
Yeah, sometimes you sneeze and you're like, ah.
Yeah, you're just covered. You're
like,
soaking wet for
oh
some
my
reason.
God. Yeah, or like you'll sneeze and you'll like a friend will come out too. Like you'll have like you know when you're sick and you like cough up like a lot of mucus and stuff. Sometimes you'll sneeze and it'll be like, fucking cover. Like it'll go and you're like, oh, I'm fucking embarrassed and I'm grossed out by myself.
Yeah.
Like those happen every now and then, but and see, I feel like I cover my sneezes pretty well.
Same.
Leo, he has pretty like significant allergies, but he'll sneeze and literally like I see the
debris.
projectile, and like when we're in the car, I'm like, fucking wipe your car. Like it's like he does not cover his mouth. I don't know if it's a male thing, because I see a lot of guys who don't cover their mouth, they just go achoo, and I'm like, Jesus, like that is a lot of fucking
like,
spit.
Were you not here for COVID?
Yeah, whereas like I feel like girls are, maybe it's it's like a
I think
different kind of category.
Women are maybe more like socially aware, and so that's why we're probably more likely to go like this. Because I don't sneeze in my hand either. I'll sneeze in my elbow.
Yeah, and you cover. But I think it's the same thing when you're eating. Girls are often more than not.
I'll cover my mouth.
They cover their mouth when they chew. Men are like,
nah.
Like it just,
and then they'll fart, and then you're like, all right.
And then they spread their legs,
smell that while
and they take over the right. The worst is when you're fucking laying in bed and you're like content with life, and then they just rip a new one, and
and
they
you
don't
can feel
tell
the
you.
heat.
No, they don't even fucking tell you, and so it happens, and you're like fucking offended.
Yeah,
you're like, I have my skincare on, I have my slippers on, things are great, and I just smell ass.
Yeah,
like it's horrible. Anyways, we went off topic. I want to finish my thought here.
Please
do. Anyways, certain movies that I feel like left a mark on me would be like Ratter, and like I know who yoinked me, or
I know who yoinked me.
I know who.
I think that's a different version of the one you're thinking of. It still involves twins though.
But like it's also with the actresses that you would not expect.
Oh, never.
You know what I mean? Like
Lindsay Lohan. What the fuck are you doing?
Well, Ashley Benson from Pretty Little Liars. Yeah. Like, what the hell? But my question to you was like, if you think back on movies that have made an impact on you, what would they be?
Movies that made an impact on me?
Yeah. Like movies that you are like, I will vividly remember these movies.
I mean, from like early childhood, it's going to be Beauty and the Beast and The Mummy, which are two very different.
See, The Mummy would be I would think The Mummy would hold the same ground for me. Jaws did the same thing.
The Mummy for sure. I loved The Mummy. I was never scared of that movie. It was more so
what about like The Exorcist?
No. Okay, so when I first watched that movie, I technically wasn't watching it. My mom had it on the TV while she was cleaning. Just like casual,
like a Sunday music. Cleaning, God, fighting a demon,
right? And I kind of walked into a moment of it.
What moment?
She was sitting on the bed. I don't like remember. I actually haven't seen the movie like in full in a really long time. I tried recently, but I kind of found it. Is it when
her mom walks in and she's like using the cross?
No.
Okay.
No, she's.
I was like, don't go into detail on that scene.
And then it starts shaking. That's all I remember. Is like she's on the bed. And
she's not possessed yet.
No, she did have like her face was a little off though, and I remember this like scene specifically. Although clearly I don't remember it that well, but I just remember that when I went to bed every night, I was terrified to look at the end of my bed because I thought she'd be sitting there. And I had a giant Lala's plushie from the Teletubbies, and it fell.
That's already scary.
Right? It fell at one point during the night, like onto my feet, and I felt the pressure of it, and I thought it was her, and I froze, and I just laid there like still the whole night. I don't really think I slept because I was so anxious that she was just sitting at the end of my bed.
That's scary,
Yeah.
dude. Okay,
And then
what
I
else?
fell in love with the horror movies for some reason. I think I had a period in my life where I was a bit of a scaredy cat. I would sleep with the blankets all the way around me, and the only thing that would be out is my nose.
your nose? Yeah,
so
I did
could
that
breathe.
too. I did that too.
I thought if I was under the blanket, that like weird, like if I was under the blanket, they can't touch me.
Yeah.
But if my foot was sticking out,
Yeah.
then they would grab me and like throw me into hell,
Yeah.
which I don't know.
Was there any other movies that like, and it doesn't even have to be old movies, like another movie that sometimes I'll rewatch because I like the movie. I don't think it got, I'm learning a lot that the movies that I like usually don't have great reviews. So maybe that says something about the quality of, of the movies I watch. But another movie that I watched that was like a scary movie was a movie called Deliver Us from Evil.
I've heard of it. Maybe I've seen it. Couldn't remember.
It is supposed to be a true story. I don't know, or it's based off of real people. And the concept is it's a detective in New York, a homicide detective in New York, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously have seen the worst in people. He runs into a scenario where somebody is possessed by a demon, multiple people or something like that. There's like some vets that got back from Afghan, and they carried a demon with them, and they brought it back to New York. And so there was some like really weird shit happening, and he ends up teaming up with a priest to exorcise this demon. And it was like an ancient demon, like it's like a real like up there caliber demon.
Damn.
And it was a good movie. It was honestly, it was very kind of Hollywood. Like, I'm sure it didn't happen like that. If it ever happened, I'm sure it didn't happen like that. But it's a pretty cool movie. And this detective learns that he has like his sixth sense?
The sixth. He has like
he sees dead people kind of stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he can hear and pick. He has like a strong intuition.
He's a medium.
Yeah, and so he ends up, and I think what actually ended up happening in real life was he ended up leaving the police department, and he went off to work with this guy, and so it's based off of their story together and how they became friends and whatever, kind of like how The Conjuring's based off of Ed and Lorraine. So that movie kind of left a mark on me too, but it's not super, I would recommend you watching it. I wouldn't say it's the best quality horror movie, but it definitely kind of has its moments. They have jump scares, but even like the special effects were kind of impressive. Like when they're exorcising the guy from the demon, like some cool shit happens.
I will say, for a lot of horror movies, for me, the part where they lose me is the special effects.
Yeah.
I think that's why I liked the Paranormal Activity, is because I can't see it, it's almost more scary. Like, I don't want...
Well, they did it
crazy
pretty
things happening.
well. Like the things that they did, that like the chicken feet in the flower.
In the flower.
Or like even just her like getting up at night and standing over his bed. Like that's real shit that could happen. That's like genuinely scary.
And it's like fast forwarding to show that like she did it for
hours. Like there was certain things that they did that, yeah, the special effects were very impressive. I would say that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was because it was, besides like the chicken feet, like you could watch it walk through the flower.
When you would hear it. Like they
could
added
hear
the
it.
special effects that you could hear the thing walking.
It would like scream, but like off camera, or like make noise off camera, like somewhere downstairs while they were sleeping. Which again, like I think I liked more because the moment I see it and I see like the flaws of like human CGI, it's just, I'm like, this is silly now.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think like any form of like special effects demon, I think it would just take me out of the illusion. I like shadows. I like when you can see shadows, or when like it's like very subtle that something's there.
Yeah, or like
Smile actually was, I think I liked that because it was just a smile, but it was not just
it was
a
so
smile.
unsettling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although they show the demon at the end, and I What Leo really liked about that movie, because he falls into the category of that too, if he'll watch a movie and he'll be like, it was predictable.
Yeah.
What he liked about that movie was that there was no winners at the end.
Yeah.
He likes that, because that's not the kind of normal thing for scary movies. Usually somebody walks out they face their demon, or
The final girl.
Yeah, the final girl. I think for me, that was definitely like the smile kind of like had me on the edge of my seat. It was like, it's like the little things that I think kind of like leave a mark. The scene that really got me in that movie was when she's laying on her bed and she's already being kind of like tormented by this creature, demon, whatever. It's a demon, right?
I actually have no idea.
Curse, whatever. And her mom's standing in her bathroom and you can just kind of see her figure.
God, yeah.
I feel like a show that did a really good job at that was A Haunting on Hill House.
Haunting on Hill House. Why am I Haunting on Hill House?
Well, I think you're referring to the movie, but there's a show on Netflix called The Haunting of Hill House. They also did The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yeah.
The guy who does those, who directed that, he also did the movie Hush. Really good movie. Like he has some really, really good stuff. And The Haunting of Hill House, you can actually go back and you'll actually see ghosts that were in the home, in the corner.
So smart.
That were like, they look like statues, but they're actually real. Or like you'll see them move a little bit. Like he utilized the outside space.
He really did, like, statues with like one scene it
Would
would
just
be
turn
facing
its head.
forward, and in the next scene
Yeah.
you wouldn't necessarily see the statues moving. You just knew that they moved, which is so subtle,
Which makes
so
you feel like
unsettling.
how I think the character, like he was really good at bringing you into the character's perspective
yeah.
of feeling like you're in a room full of people.
I didn't know about the hidden ghosts the first time I watched it because I was just watching it and
Yeah,
I loved it.
yeah.
And I remember I didn't catch all of them, of course, because there's a lot.
There was a ton.
But I do remember a few scenes where I'd see something and I'd be like, is that a mistake?
Yeah, that's what I thought
Like-
too. But
like,
it's
what's
intentional,
happening?
which makes it cooler when you realize it's intentional. But his storytelling was really cool too with
Yeah.
those shows. Like the Crooked Neck Lady, realizing what that is. Like you're kind of left in the dark until you're not. And then you're like, holy fuck, I couldn't
Yeah.
even come up with something like that. He did a really good job with Bly Manor with that kind of stuff too. Because Bly Manor is not as scary.
No, that one's more plot driven, I think.
But like realizing this woman who comes out of the water is
Yeah.
the reason that a lot of these ghosts are in the home, and like who's this woman and why do you stay in your room at night, and like it really keeps you in the dark until it doesn't, in a really interesting way.
Yeah.
And I was thoroughly impressed with that show, and that show did a great job at just utilizing empty space and
Empty
questioning
space.
your reality in that.
Yeah.
I would say like another director that does that stuff really well is Ashton Allister. No, that's not his name.
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher from Punk'd. He did Hereditary. He did Midsummer.
Hereditary is actually such a great movie.
It's also like the part where he's in his room and his mom has already been like possessed and she's in the corner of his fucking ceiling.
Yeah.
Dude, that knocked me on my feet.
Yeah.
No, knocked me off my feet.
It actually put you
I
on
actually
your feet.
was sitting and then it knocked me on my
Yeah.
feet. It that like kind of threw me through a loop. Like he does the shock value very, very well.
That was
Even
also
Midsummer.
a really good like story too.
That was a movie that will last in my head too, is Midsummer. We watched Hereditary at home, but we went to the movie theater to watch Midsummer. And the silence in the movie theater was fucking palpable. And the scene where, they are on the cliff and they pursue with their ritual, the voices and the noises we heard from other people, the reaction in that. Like, so there's some movies you watch in a theater and you're like, I'm so glad I watched that movie in theater because I got the physical reaction from other people. Another movie that I would say, which was the first movie I ever watched in theater, like horror movie, because again, I'm a chicken. As a teenager, I did not like scary movies, and so like there's no fucking way you're gonna see me in a movie theater. Like I used to do, I think I've said this on the podcast, but I used to cover my ears with my thumbs, and then I used to cover my face with the rest of my fingers. I had a very specific regimen for scary movies, and I'd been invited to movies like My Bloody Valentine, Halloween, like all these movies that came out in theaters. But I finally agreed to go see a movie when they said Scream 4 is coming out.
Oh,
So I went to go see Scream 4 in the movie theaters. And the scene where the boyfriend gets you know, popped off in the nuts, the men in the theater were like, oh my God. Like they were like just viscerally. And I was like, this is so interesting. I've never been in a movie like where this kind of happens, because that's, you know, that's the shared experience when you're watching a horror movie. And that movie, I feel like, broke a lot of my kind of fear around slasher movies, because the first 5 minutes of that movie is them going through the slasher movies that were created because of the original killer. And so you just see people die, like people dying over and over and over for like 5 minutes. And so by like the third time I was like, okay, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, you're like, I'm good now.
I've been jump scared
it's
enough.
Out of my system.
I saw it, like this is the worst it's gonna get, is this.
Yeah.
Like people just being taken out.
That's a great one to like break that sort of.
Yeah, it was a really good one. It's
like,
not
fear.
like the best of the scary movies, but I will always remember Scream 4 and it being the first scary movie I watched in theaters.
I can't remember the first one I watched in theaters. I think it might have been one of the Conjuring movies.
Did you ever watch?
Maybe.
I never watched it, but did you ever watch Don't Look in the Dark? Or
Don't Look in the Dark?
it was like a super I just remember the trailer. I was in the theaters and I was watching the trailer, and this little girl was like under the sheets. Hold on. Don't look in the dark.
I don't think so, because that doesn't. But I'm also really bad with names. If you told me like a bit of the plot, I'd probably remember.
I've never watched it.
Oh shit! Never mind then.
Don't be afraid of the dark.
Don't be afraid of the dark. I mean, I'm trying to like all I can think about is the old Canadian TV show that used to play during the nights, and it was like all these like little shorts, and these kids would like tell like campsite stories or campfire stories.
I think it's like they move into a house and things are happening, and there's this girl under the sheets, like she's hiding from something under the sheets, and the sheets start moving, and then all of a sudden these hands come and they like grab her in the trailer. It had like Katie Holmes in it.
Oh, I think
it was like an older movie. I've
Yeah.
never seen it, but
I think I know kind of like that image of like that trailer of her hiding and like hands are coming. I do remember that. That's like sparking a memory, but I don't think I watched
it's the same as like when you were watching the Conjuring trailer for the first time and you see the scene where she's in the basement holding the match and he claps.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that, I feel like it just lives rent free in my head and forever it will.
Oh, for sure. If that was me, because she got locked in that basement. So if that was me and something blew out my like only light source and then clapped in my ear, I would be
He clapped
crying.
in her ear and that blew out the match because he goes, "You want to play a game?" And then he claps and that took out the match.
I would be scream crying, throwing up, shitting. I would be in it like a
They find
state
you,
of
you're
hysterical.
like covered in throw up and there's poop everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like a dog that gets scared and just starts pooping.
Yeah, no, that would
That's so
100% like
funny.
explosive diarrhea. The
Ghost would be like,
I
"I'm
don't
fucking out. Like this
Yeah.
is too much."
You're like,
it's like
"Girl,
a scary movie
calm down."
where the ghost like is trying to scare the girl and she ends up like enjoying it in the second one. Yeah, like shit like that. Fuck. Anyway.
The ghost gets like scared of her because she gets like obsessive.
Oh yeah. Or it's like the one where the guy gets like attacked by the tree because they're making fun of poltergeist and he ends up taking the tree and rolling him up in like a joint.
Yeah.
Like so like ridiculous. You can't make movies like that now. Like
No,
they
you
would
can't.
not do well. They really wouldn't. That was
a
like
phenomenon.
dubstep of our time when we were talking about that the last
Yeah.
episode. Scary movies they could have only lived in that period of time.
It was
and
very
they
much
were the
blockbuster.
stroke of movies.
It was the block. I can distinctly remember walking into a Blockbuster on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And like seeing the rows of these like horror movie or even just like they were
They were always
parodies.
next to the horror movies.
Yeah.
And I think because it said scary movie on it. But yeah, and then you saw they were sitting in the movie theater and the bad guys were there too eating popcorn. Like
Yeah.
it was always just, and they could never redo that. That
No.
that will forever be part of the 2000s that you just cannot recreate.
Oh, 100%.
That's a gem.
It's a
Or-
solid gem.
Or a really poor archive that we just can't forget about. It depends on what area. Because now I look back on it. I don't know if I ever want to. I will show my future children those movies, but I won't be proud about it. You know?
I will wait until they're like probably teenagers.
For sure.
Because they're inappropriate.
Because I
even
feel
for
like
now.
like when was South Park created? Before our time.
I think it was like 1997
Oh,
or
okay.
8.
So
We were 2.
when we were not even sure of our own existence.
Yeah.
I feel like I watch old South Park stuff because like my dad would show me like, because the guys who created South Park, they created a bunch of other movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And he'll show it to me and I'm like,
The puppet one.
it's funny, but like also let's leave it where it existed. Like, let's just leave it in that time. Like, I can't really bring it to this. Like, it's hard to bring it forward. I would say old horror movies are the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't show somebody Halloween now, the original Halloween,
Well,
and expect them to be scared.
Spoiled almost. Like people, it's almost like too much of like a cult classic that like if you weren't there at that time, it doesn't have the same.
I would say
effect.
The Exorcist is the same. Like,
Very
there's some
much.
movies that they're so, let's take it even further back. Alfred Hitchcock was this guy in his time who was doing shit that people had never seen before. These scary movies for the time, right? Birds attacking you and
the shower scene
and a mother who isn't actually the mother, but the guy. Like those scenes will forever be a stain of that time or a mark on that time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you show somebody that now, they're like, this is a fucking black and white movie.
No, it's for real.
Like, I can't watch this.
So the Haunting on Hill House, the House on Haunted Hill. There was an old movie
That's the old
that
movie
I
that you
made
were
you
thinking
watch.
about. Yeah.
And there's a scene where like I don't know, a witch or an old woman.
Well, that movie
comes-
was created. Like, there's the original House on Haunting Hill.
Yeah.
And then there's the recreated one in like, again, in the 2000s when horror movies were like a rock music
popping
video.
off. Yeah.
You know how rock music videos, like Marilyn Manson, his music videos, this movie that they recreated of Haunting on Hill House?
I don't know, something.
Haunting-
House on Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill or something like that. They recreated it and it felt like you were just watching an hour and a half of a rock music video.
I love that.
13 Demons or 13 Ghosts.
Yeah.
That movie, same kind of vibe, energy, same
Kinda miss
energy.
those. Again, like you said, they're not the same.
I don't
now.
know if you could recreate those.
No, you can't. They're timeless.
But the original was it a black and white? No, it was a colored movie.
no, it was black and white.
Was it black and white?
Yeah.
And there's a scene where a woman who has like crazy hair. It's just an old lady, honestly.
It really is just an old lady.
She has some like light colored eyes. Like, she has kind of like the dead eyes where they're like white. But that's literally it. She's just like a woman who got out of bed.
It's like it's a straight up actress.
And it scared us.
like, her
Well,
moo-moo.
she makes like a face and then she kind of floats away. Like, they put her on a trolley and they kind of pushed her. Anyways, that scene scared me. And Spencer one time came over to my fucking house and I had like a vanity like dresser. So there was a mirror on top of a dresser and I was getting ready. And I didn't know that she had come over because we lived only a few houses away from each other. And so my parents would just let her in. Her parents would just let me in. We would head up to the room. And I didn't know she had snuck into my room, and so I'm brushing my fucking hair and I see her and she's standing there like the old lady, and it actually scared the shit out of me.
I remember that.
That actually
That's
scared
good.
me. It was because I didn't know you were there, but yeah, she like knew that I was afraid of the scene, and it was such a stupid scene. Like, now I watch it and I'm like, why was I afraid of that scene? It's
Right?
literally an old woman who got out of bed and hadn't brushed her hair. That
She's literally
was her.
in her moo still.
Yeah. Which, like now,
and she's on a trolley.
she was for sure on a trolley. They totally just pushed her. Like, it's so like comical now, but these movies were big deals when they came out because they were this new idea of things that, like, there was a skeleton in that movie that had come to life and takes the life. Like, but it's like comical. It's not what movies are now because obviously, studio FX and all this stuff has changed.
Yeah.
But it's like, I will be content showing my kids, I would say a movie that, it's not a scary movie, but like a movie that was like really impactful, but like you can't show kids now because I don't think they'll actually survive through it, would be like Citizen Kane. Everybody knows of Citizen Kane. Mm-hmm. And it's a very critically acclaimed movie. But if I showed somebody, if I showed my brother's generation Citizen Kane, I think they wouldn't be like 5 minutes in, they'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's so kind of out there.
Yeah, I don't think it's for them. To be fair, though, we watched Nightmare Before Christmas with one of your younger brothers when he was, like, pretty young. Not that young, but, like, younger. And he hated it.
He did hate it.
He did, and we were like in like we're like, how can you hate this movie? Like we were actually mad at him. He was probably like 5 years old.
Yeah, and he wanted nothing to do with it.
And he just didn't care. I think he was a little. I think he was probably like 8, because he could watch he was old enough to like watch a movie. He just didn't like this one.
Yeah,
he thought it was boring or something, and we got like defensive.
Damn kids, they don't know what quality is.
No, I took that one personally.
I know, me too.
To be completely honest.
Well, I wasn't. Honestly, I have to be frank with you. The plan of this episode was not to talk about this at all.
Oh, okay, slay.
But we just kind of went with the seat. We went by the seat of our pants. Is that the saying?
It is now.
I was literally going to say we went by the flight of our pants.
That too.
We were taken by the seat of our. It has to be a saying. I can't be making this shit up.
We went by the seam of our pants.
Seat of our pants.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
We went by the seat of our pants.
Yeah, I was taken by the seat of my pants. I don't know.
Google that.
I'm too far in. I have to commit to it now. But we kind of just like went on this long tangent that I actually found to be very interesting. I hope you guys did. Do you have anything else you want to say? Do you have a signature Spencer question of the episode that you want to ask?
Honestly, not really. If you were a dog, if you were an animal, what type of animal would you want to be?
Probably a cat.
Slay.
But I've been told that I have the energy of a koala.
They have syphilis.
Holy shit. What the fuck? What the fuck, dog?
Okay. They do.
Okay, I'm hopeful that people don't refer to me as a person that comes off that I have syphilis.
You have syphilis.
But what is syphilis? It's an HIV, or it's a
sexually transmitted infection.
What happens with syphilis?
I don't know. I've never had it. I just know koalas do, and I don't even know why.
So, like, if a koala bites you, you get syphilis?
I think so.
Why do they have syphilis?
I think it's something like what they're eating. Maybe it's in the eucalyptus plant. I don't know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have to clarify this for people who are watching. I don't think I've been called a koala because I come off as a person who has syphilis. I don't think.
What are the qualities of a koala?
Well, they eat, they sleep, and sometimes they're a little crabby.
Oh. Well, in that case, me too.
So I've been told, and they're little, and they're cute, but they're also, vicious. Like, people who try to, Australians are like, koalas aren't fucking cute. They're actually, vicious creatures.
They're like the beaver
They're
of
like
Australia.
sloths. Like, people are like, oh, I want to be a sloth so bad. And they're like, if you got near a sloth and the sloth wanted to fucking kill you, they could fucking kill you. Like, they could fuck you up.
Swords on their hands. Have you seen their claws?
So, I feel like it's the same. But, yeah, I was told by Leo that he said that I was a koala. That I was a kind of a chunky little, food eater where I would just be in my vibe, and I would nap a lot, and if you woke me up I'd attack you. That's kind of the vibe that I gave off. I don't think my husband told me I was like a koala because he thinks I have syphilis, so I'm gonna remove that one from the the thought process. But I had no idea koalas had syphilis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where they get it from. I don't
think
all of them
feel the effects of the symptoms? Probably not.
No.
It's like a man who has chlamydia. He doesn't even know he's got it.
Yeah, I think essentially.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Then they give it to the fucking women
of
the world.
And then they give it to us. But I don't know what happens when you have syphilis. I'm assuming you probably just get itchy, scratchy, burning.
What happens when you get chlamydia? Why do I not know this? I feel like I should know these things.
It's just you get rashes on your private areas.
I know AIDS and the impact of that, but I don't know. I must have not been paying attention during sex ed because I feel like we learned about all of these.
To be honest, I didn't learn about any of this in sex ed, which is why I'm unsure of what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. It's all things that I've learned via
I know
online.
of the STIs, but I don't know this means that you have this. This symptom. I don't know what if you have sores and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Then what STI is that? I have no idea.
I think a sore is herpes.
Herpes, okay.
Which can manifest, I think, around the mouth or around the genitals.
Yeah, I always thought that herpes and syphilis were the same thing.
I thought they might be. Again.
What's the clap?
The clap. Chlamydia.
Oh, chlamydia, okay.
Which I think is different from crabs, but they both start with C, so I don't know.
Wow. We're really learning a lot. And on that note, thank you for joining us for this episode. You can find us and our lovely faces on social media at _the_dysfunctional-duo on all forms of social media.
--
And the dysfunctional-duo on YouTube. So if you have interest in checking us out, please do. We're trying our best to post stories, or not stories, but like reels of the highlights of whatever the fuck we're talking about. But yeah, if you want to connect with us further, that's where you can find us. We're on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And we're also on Spotify. I don't know where you listen to us or where you find us. I'm assuming a lot of our audience is on YouTube.
Probably.
But you can also find us on Spotify. So if you like to just listen, please check us out there. We're on the Dysfunctional Duo. And yeah.
Good night.
Thank you so much. Good night. What if it's daytime for these people?
Good morning.
It's not
good
nighttime
day.
for us.
Good night.
We will see you guys next episode. And I feel like we need like a good send-off message, but we don't have one.
Don't do
Drugs. All right.
Or do it. I don't know. Whatever you want. Don't do drugs while driving.
Okay.
We're now mad.
We gotta get the fuck out of here. Okay. Bye.
Bye.